Tēnā koutou katoa. My name is Jenny Fleming and I'm the current president of Work Integrated Learning New Zealand. I'm pleased to be invited to be part of this regional spotlight session for Oceania. New Zealand is a small country in the South Pacific, approximately 3 hours flying time east of Australia, a 12-hour flight from LA, or a 27-hour flight from London. As our Prime Minister says, we are a team of 5 million, and we have worked hard together on strategies to eliminate COVID-19 in our country. By closing our borders to the rest of the world, we were in the fortunate position to have a COVID-free summer and to enjoy our beautiful beaches with our family and our friends. We also pride ourselves on our sporting achievements, particularly our World Cup winning All Blacks rugby team. But more recently, this summer, we were able to host in New Zealand and we defended, the oldest international sailing competition, the America's Cup. Now to a more relevant topic, higher education in New Zealand. In the government-funded higher education sector, we have 8 universities and 16 polytechnics or institutes of technology. Our polytechnics have a strong history of work-based or work-integrated learning related to vocational education. And most of our universities also have included work-integrated learning opportunities in specific disciplines over many years. But more recently, there's been a trend to include WIL for most, if not all, students as part of a university education. In 2020, to support this initiative, Universities New Zealand set up a WIL advisory group to provide guidance in this area across the university sector. I will speak more about this later in the presentation. The last year has been a tough one for us all across the globe, but it has also been an exciting year for WILNZ. At the AGM held last year, which was held online, we voted to change our name from the New Zealand Association of Cooperative Education to Work Integrated Learning New Zealand. This change better reflects a more inclusive terminology for a wider variety of models that integrate learning in the higher education institution with learning in the workplace, and is consistent with the terminology that is now being used worldwide. We were asked to share as part of this regional spotlight a highlight from a year where WIL faced many changes due to COVID. So a real highlight for us has been the development of a new logo. With many WIL placements disrupted or cancelled last year, the WILNZ board was able to offer a WIL opportunity to 2 science students, Laura Thresher from University of Waikato and Libby Hare from WinTech, both in Hamilton. It was great to see the development of their employability skills, particularly their communication skills, as they could not meet with us in person, and teamwork and collaboration as they worked together to design our new logo. The logo presented here on the slide is a credit to their creativity and ability to represent visually what WIL really means. Laura and Libby came up with the concept of the learner being represented as the black dot, and the institution and the employer as the 2 upward lines cradling the learner, reflecting the importance of the tripartite relationship of the 3 stakeholders. Congratulations and thanks to Laura and Libby on the great logo that they have produced. We certainly were pleased to be able to be a real client for their WIL experience during such a difficult time. As part of the logo development, we were also gifted a te reo interpretation to acknowledge our Māori heritage, and this forms part of the logo. Tuia te ako, tuia te mahi, tuia te aro, whai huia e. And this means weave together the learning, weave together the work, weave together the productive pathways ahead. We think this really captures the essence of WIL really well. The weaving is also captured in the intersection created in the logo. WILNZ board also worked together over the last year to establish our strategic direction, vision, mission, values, and strategic aims. Our strategic aims include advocating for WIL, fostering good practice and research, cultivating relationships, and trying to manage the operations in a sustainable way. I'm going to share with you a few of these initiatives that we've undertaken over the last year that align with these aims. Advocating for WIL. Several of our WILNZ board members, including myself, are on the Universities New Zealand WIL Advisory Committee that I mentioned earlier. The aim of this advisory group is to promote, share, and influence good practice and policy in WIL across the university sector. Over the last year, we have been able to develop a strategic framework for WIL for New Zealand universities, and this is currently being considered by the Deputy Vice-Chancellors from the 8 New Zealand universities. We also have developed a proposal for some changes to the university funding models for WIL, and this was put forward to the Government Tertiary Education Committee for consideration. Unfortunately, COVID-19 has got in the way, so we will have to wait a bit longer for any action on this. The Ministry of Education and Tertiary Education Commission, in their strategy, have identified a series of recommendations for the future of tertiary education in New Zealand. In 2019, they released a discussion document on the future education, including embedding work integrated learning into the curriculum to enhance graduate employability outcomes. We were really pleased to see this outlined in this new strategy. A nationwide review has recently been undertaken called the Reform of Vocational Education, or ROVE. WILNZ was able to provide a representative on the working group for work-based and work-integrated learning as part of this process. The reform resulted in some huge changes in the vocational education sector in New Zealand, with the establishment of a new entity called Te Pukenga, that will bring together all 16 of the polytechnics and institutes of technology under one umbrella. The rationale was to create a strong, unified, sustainable vocational education system that is fit for the future of work and delivers the skills that learners, employers, and communities need to thrive. Our connections going forward with Te Pukenga will be critical, and it was pleasing to see one of their senior leadership, Angela Beaton, presenting at our recent WILNZ conference. Fostering good practice and research. Our annual conference that we had to hold recently on an online environment is a highlight for WILNZ each year, and this provides our greatest opportunity to meet our strategic aims, as it helps to advocate for the value of WIL and for WIL research, share good practice across diverse WIL models and contexts, and provide opportunities to cultivate networks. At the time of recording this presentation, our conference was to be the following week. However, I still would like to acknowledge and give a big thanks to Professor Denise Jackson for her keynote address and the delegates that contributed to sharing their research and practice with us. Hopefully next year, we will be able to all meet face to face and welcome our international colleagues again to visit us in New Zealand. Another initiative WILNZ has to foster good practice is professional development courses, often in conjunction with ACEN, CWIL, and VILA. These provide opportunities for us to make a contribution to sharing and advancing good practice. We will be offering more modules later in the year, so please see Global WIL on the WACE website for more details. The webinars we provide, often in conjunction with our Australian colleagues through ACEN or other global WIL associations, are really valuable opportunities to share practice with others in a wide range of contexts and disciplines. Throughout the last year, we have worked closely together to provide support and advice to our members through our joint webinars, conversations, and resources to help us all navigate the disruptions caused by COVID. Thank you to everyone who contributed to these great sessions and shared their stories, and a particular big thanks to ACEN for collaborating so closely with us. Another important contribution that WILNZ makes is the International Journal of Work Integrated Learning. Carsten Zegwa, the editor, will be sharing more about IJWIL and other sessions scheduled in the conference. However, a special mention needs to be made of the 2 issues of IJWIL dedicated to COVID-19. They were put together in record time in order to provide insights into some innovative solutions to help our students learn in disrupted work environments. A big thanks to the editorial team for their efforts to get this out so quickly. We've been asked to share a recent research highlight from our region, and I'd like to profile one of the recent articles published in the special issue of IJWIL by Yvonne Wood from AUT in Auckland and her co-authors Karsten Zegward and Wendy Fox-Turnbull from University of Waikato in Hamilton. The paper was titled Meta-analysis of Conventional, Remote, Virtual and Simulated WIL. This article provides useful insights for us all, both in a COVID and non-COVID world, to help us when there is a need to redevelop the WIL curriculum to accommodate non-placement focused and different models of WIL. Yvonne and her co-authors are presenting this paper during the conference. Finally, on behalf of WILNZ and our New Zealand delegates, I would like to thank the WACE Organising Committee for hosting this virtual conference so that research and practice can be shared with our WIL colleagues globally. I look forward to answering questions in our live sessions to follow. Ngā mihi nui, thank you, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
Welcome to this regional spotlight where the focus is on Australia. In Australia, the WIL Association is called the Australian Collaborative Education Network. And my name is Franziska Trede, and I'm the president of ACEN. ACEN is the professional association that provides strategic leadership for WIL research, scholarship and practice in Australia for its members and other stakeholders. We are recognized as a national peak body for WIL in Australia, and we have 43 institutional members. Our mission is to advance WIL in Australia in the areas of research, scholarship and practice through collaboration with the tertiary education sector, with students, industry, community and the government. Our strategy includes building capacity for WIL practitioners to implement WIL, to advance WIL scholarship, facilitate knowledge sharing, and develop and maintain partnerships with WIL stakeholders. Our focus in 2021 is on national advocacy for quality WIL, access and inclusion, and in Indigenous engagement with WIL. Here you can see our board. We are 11 directors, and we are professional, engaged, volunteering, hardworking, inclusive and collaborative, also fun-loving board, which makes it really a good activity to be part of. And we meet once a month online, and we have 2 face-to-face meetings per year. So the advocacy at the national level is at the core of what we do. And we are advising and collaborating with the Department of Education, Skills and Employment of the federal government. We work with the Tertiary Education Quality and Standards Agency. And we also collaborate with the Australian Council of the Professions, which is an alliance of all the professional accreditation bodies in Australia. And we have written a joint statement with them about how to conduct WIL during the pandemic. We also have written a discussion paper together with the Australian Council of Deans in Science, focusing on STEM employability. And we are partnering with National Centre of Student Equity in Higher Education, and we share with them the same values about access, inclusion. ACEN has a very strong partnership with its sister in New Zealand, WIL New Zealand. Here I just want to mention 2 key aspects, and that is the International Journal of WIL. This is hosted out of Waikato University in New Zealand, and ACEN is co-funding the copy editor for this important flagship journal for WIL. An ACEN board member is actually the co-chief editor of this journal, and the ACEN board members are on the editorial board. Another flagship that we share with New Zealand is WIL Song Coffee Chats. This means really, it stands for Work Integrated Learning Small Significant Online Network Group. Is a 1 month online social event where like-minded people from ACEN and WILN New Zealand come together to discuss their passion for WIL. Topics may include WIL pedagogies, planning for WIL, overcoming obstacles in WIL practice, or perhaps just a friendly chat and collegial banter over a cup of coffee. Now, on the ACEN board, we have committees, and there are 5 of them. They are listed here on the slide, and I'll tell you a little bit about each one of them. So the Professional Learning and Resources Committee provides a comprehensive professional learning program to its members where we can network around Australasia. So as a response to COVID-19, we ran 8 critical conversations, which is an online platform for discussion around current issues facing WIL practitioners. And these virtual sessions involved facilitated online conversations in discipline groups for over 545 people from over 90 tertiary organizations. And we delivered webinars on topical issues and research with over 300 attendees in 2020. 2020 was a big year to come together and collaborate online, and our uptake shows that. And we also created research conversations to advance research and scholarship. Here you can see the topics and the distinguished guest speakers that we had and participants. And here we have an overview of the critical conversations that we held in 2020. You can see the decline of participants towards the end of the year, where everybody got a bit tired. This committee also has the oversight of the ACEN website that provides a lot of information sharing and key documents for its members. Our engagement and advocacy with government and on issues of national priority are listed there. You can read up on our position papers to the government. We also have outputs from ACEN-funded projects and research, so you can read up on them. We are promoting the availability of funding through the ACEN grants and student scholarships that we offer, and we highlight state and national ACEN events on our website as well. In 2020, we rapidly developed a dedicated COVID-19 response website with resources for everybody available to change the way that you delivered WIL programs in 2021. And in last year, we published 17 new WIL case studies, and they're all focused on shifting WIL to the online or some alternative ways of delivering workplace learning WIL experiences for our students. The Research and Impact Committee provides support of the achievements of research and scholarship objectives in the ACEN Strategic Plan to enhance WIL throughout Australia. So we have a research grant scheme, which is an annual call for proposals, and we fund 3 research grants, each worth 10,000 Australian dollars, and 2 $5,000 grants for emergent or early career researchers. Key outputs include National Quality Framework for WIL, guidelines for online WIL placements, and effective WIL assessment designs. These are just examples of these research project outputs. This committee also hosts the Research Symposium, which is usually connected to our biannual ACEN conference. And in this symposium, we identify research areas that are needed, and we facilitate collaboration to support WIL researcher priorities and networking. In this portfolio, we also house the Graduate Outcome Survey, which is a national mandatory survey for students graduating from programs. And ACEN has added 5 WIL items to be included in this national student survey. And the focus of these survey items is really on participation, on will and employability related activities to influence these on the graduate outcomes and understand the impact of will for graduates. 30 Australian universities participated in the first round of these will dedicated questions in 2020. And professional development is also offered through this portfolio in support of research conversations. Now, the next committee I want to talk about is the Awards and Student Scholarships Committee. The awards are handed out biannually as part of our conference. It's a conference highlight, and the awards include a Collaboration Award, a Local Hero Award, and Innovation and Excellence Award. And they're here to recognize and celebrate outstanding contributions to work-integrated learning. We also run a student scholarship scheme, and this includes handing out 8 student scholarships of 1,500 Australian dollars each to students undertaking a WIL placement. And for this year, we are planning to activate the student voice on the committee by inviting students who received scholarships to participate in a mentoring program for the next generation of students who receive such a scholarship. Now, in ACEN, we have 5 chapters, and the 5 chapters are really the backbone of ACEN, because the chapters really engage with the local membership and call for volunteers to help out on board committees and our day-to-day running of our portfolios. So, starting at the top northeast end of Australia, there is the Queensland chapter. The Queensland chapter represents 12 tertiary institutional members across Queensland. And you might know that Queensland is the largest geographically dispersed membership of all state chapters in Australia. And therefore, naturally, all their meetings are held online because people cannot travel thousands of kilometers for a half-day workshop. Highlights for 2021 are planned that the University of Queensland is hosting a work-integrated learning symposium, which is supported by the Queensland chapter. They also want to conduct a membership mapping activation to strengthen the engagement of all ACEN members in Queensland and the northern New South Wales region. And they plan an end-of-year celebration, networking opportunities to meet, share as a community of practice, and acknowledge and celebrate the work from 2021. Moving further south, the New South Wales and Australian Capital Territory chapter contributes to the national events, the ACEN Critical Conversations I just mentioned, and the ACEN Research Conversations and national webinars, and the WIL Coffee Chats. It also participates in reviewing and deliberating for ACEN grants and the awards, and it helps with dissemination of ACEN and WACE newsletters and a dedicated quarterly New South Wales and ACT chapter newsletter. And it advocates for WIL within and external to our institutions. Moving further south to Australia, we have Victoria and the Tasmanian chapter. And this committee has representation from 9 institutions in our representative states. And the committee is committed to collaboratively sharing resources, information, and good practice. They professionally develop the committee and the members throughout through collegial discussions and problem solve and the many challenges inherent in WIL practice. They organize professional development activities, including face-to-face workshops and presentations. They participate and support national webinars and events, and they contribute to ACEN national board committees and initiatives. The network both formally and informally with all institutions, and they collaborate together in research projects. So this chapter committee values and practices reciprocity and generosity in their strategic agenda of enhancing quality WIL practices for all their stakeholders. The next chapter is the South Australian and Northern Territory chapter. It represents 6 tertiary institutions across South Australia and the Northern Territory, and they run events partnered with the Higher Education Research and Development Society of Australasia to discuss the impact of government performance measures around employability, equity and success on higher education providers. And they showcased 3 disciplines across South Australian universities in their successful response to the restrictions placed on WIL from COVID-19 in 2020. And in 2021, their focus will be on the 4 R's of WIL: redefining, resourcing, risk, and reconciliation, with an event around each theme. Their first event for 2020 was around building student resilience during WIL, with a particular emphasis on empowering students to develop self-care plans. And 2 more events will be held in 2021, one face-to-face and one online. Potential topics for these events are equity and access to WIL, which aligns with our strategy this year, and rural placements, and WIL and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students. Now, please contact us and communicate and collaborate with us. And the way you can do that, you can find out more about ACEN on our website. You can sign up for our newsletter here. And please contact us, contact our very able ACEN administrator, Laura Jones, on this admin@acen.edu.au email address. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to the Q&A session.